I was out in the field the other day and I was working. We have a plant here in Kentucky. It's a gnarly bush that grows up everywhere. And toward the summer, it gets red berries on it. And those red berries are hallucinogent. They're dope, buddy. So they're too bitter for a human being to eat, but the deer eat them, especially fawns that don't know any better. And you'll see a deer, a yearling deer, out, boing, 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 jumping around and carrying on. Sometimes you'll see them just laying there. You know, Kiddo ate some of them one time, and he was in the front floorboard of my truck for about 20 minutes. It scared me to death. Thought he'd been poisoned, sure. Anyway, I was cutting some deerberries bushes out of the way, and another person that was over on the farm with me asked me, says, I was using a machete. And he says, just how do you sharpen a machete? Of course, I was making pretty good moxie with it. I said, well, there's a lot of ways to do it. You can use a file, you can use a wet rock, you can use different things. This is what I use. I use a flap wheel. A flap wheel works pretty good, as I will demonstrate. Now, a flap wheel by nature has the abrasive impregnated fiber is bent over, of course. It's a flap wheel, see. So it turns this way, dragging the flaps the way they're bent toward the work. Do not get yourself in a situation where you have your cutting edge against the flap, because it'll grab it, buddy, and just throw it right into you. So I sharpen them something like this. If you're careful and you've got just the right angle, it don't take no time to do it. Now, one of the things I do to a machete is I do this. I put this little notch right here in the end of the blade. You're not going to do much work with the tip of a machete, okay? But what that allows you to do is, when you come back and chop something and it's in your way now, you can simply reach down and hook it with the end of your machete and pitch it out of the way, okay? Another thing is, you don't want it to be rusty and you don't want it to be painted. These two things affect you when you go to chop something. When you lay into it, that rust makes that material drag on your blade, and that paint grabs it just the same, just like you had glue on there. Okay, that's a little bit of a tip on the machete. Now the machete is handy because you've got reach. Okay, machete's cool because you've got reach. I've got a longer machete that my cousin Ed painted because he was afraid he'd lose it in the woods. By the way, this is a cool machete cover. It's not a machete cover at all. What it is cover, spare barrel M9. It's a 30 caliber machine gun barrel cover. Okay? Makes a good one. You find one of these things at a surplus store, it makes a good machine. This guy is a 26 incher. Okay? And it's got reach. You can reach out there with it. But And it's heavy. The size of it made it heavy. But because it's got paint on it, it's hard to use. Okay? So I'm going to take the paint off of it, and I'm also going to fix this bent spot in the end of it where apparently used it to pry open something, you know, like that. The handiest chopping tool I have ever owned. This is the handiest chopping tool I have ever owned. And it's getting a little dull, and I'm going to have to sharpen it. This is made by Fiskars. This Fiskars right here. It's a hawkbill, you know, like a normal, what you would normally think of as, you know, a hawkbill axe. You see them all over the South, you know, they've got an axe handle on them, and then they've got that sort of a cutting blade on the end of it. You know, some people call it a some people call it Kaiser blade, some people call it sling blade. You know, and that's basically what it is. That's what they're talking about. This thing is super handy. It doesn't weigh anything on the back, and I thought the handle would come out of it, you know, immediately. And I've had this thing for 5 or 6 years. I bought it at Walmart, and I think it was 20 bucks. This thing, if you're in a viney part of the country, buddy, this is a very handy tool. Overall length of this guy is let's get an overall length here and get us an overall length. Overall length of this tool is 19.5 inches. You know, four-wheeler, tractor, you know, you need something compact that you can chop with. This is the tool. This is the tool. It has a very chintzy plastic guard of a thing that come with it. I've been meaning to make something out of metal with a belt loop on it so I could put it on my belt where it would ride up high. Kind of like a woodsman's hatchet scabbard where it goes in there like this. I'm going to sharpen this guy for the first time in all the time that I've owned it. Okay, but this is a really good tool. I think this thing was 20 bucks. And they haven't had them at Walmart, and I haven't seen them for sale anywhere. And I actually went to go and buy another one. And went to Walmart, went to Lowe's, went to Home Depot, my local hardware store, nothing. So when this guy finally does break, I don't know what I'm gonna do for it. I'll probably weld something on it, pipe or something. Anyway, there's a little tip. Now, a curved blade, I don't know for sure how you would sharpen a curved blade, so let's see if we can get it sharp using this method. Outward curve, but this is an inward curve. This is not a knife. Checking it by how well it wants to snag my fingerprints. Yeah. So that's a simple, easy, fast method for sharpening your chopping tools. Just use your flap wheel, you know. I've got a hard grinder, a cutoff tool, and a flap wheeler. wheel, all on separate tools. I use the DeWalt for my good one, and then the old beaters. I use the, what is it here, Chicago Electric from Harbor Freight. They work pretty good. They're not the best by any stretch of imagination, but they are good. They're about 25 bucks. You know, you go buy 3 of them and buy the 3 standard wheels you'd use and just hook them up. Well, all right then, that's about the size of it on the old sharpening tip for machetes and sharpening tools. Like, share, commentate, and subscribe. I'll leave the light on for you. Leave me a little dollar in the Patreon bucket if you want to, and if you don't, well, I just keep right on making content for you no matter how stingy you are. Check on your old people. Be a good citizen. Love your neighbor. God bless you, and join the NRA. We'll see you, buddy.